Hi guys, welcome to another production from Rainy Lincoln. I'm sat here and I'm looking at how I can advance this channel so I can reach more people, and I've sat here thinking about how I manage my thoughts and whether anybody else might be interested in processing difficult thoughts. So with anything that you decide that you want to have an ending, you've got to accept that there is a need to have that ending. And also realise that you may well make excuses, you may well make allowances why these things aren't going to happen. But it sets a precedent in your mind that when you put that out as a reasoning, you want the ending, you want the difference, but there's a reason why that you feel you are not going to achieve that new start. All of that is information that is recorded into the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between fact or fiction, so it takes that information at face value. So this is quite often why we're stuck in this moment of insecurity, unsurety, is because that we're feeding ourselves stuff information. So my way of working with people is I am a tough character, but I'm only tough in the sense of that I want what is best for that client when they're in front of me. Now, my past experiences with counselling was that somebody would sit and listen. So I sit and listen. I listen to what the client's got to tell me. I get them to outline what the potential issues might be, where it's come from. And then when I've gone through that, I come up with this strategy called "and then what?" Right, so "and then what" is all about it's the ending of the story, if you like, because everybody has got that background, everybody has got that storyline of how they came to be in the place where they're at. And that's absolutely fine. But then we have to make a decision. Right, are we going to carry on in the same vein, following the same pattern, or are we going to take that brave decision and say, no, this no longer suits? So I came up with this strategy, "and then what?" And I thought, what's the best way to describe a beginning? Well, at the beginning of the alphabet, the first letter is A. So that says to me it's the start of my journey. So I started plotting a pathway that I could walk down and also explain how I'm going to do that. So this isn't like an in-depth video, it's just me sat here at a loose end with the thought in my head, I want to help people. Now I need a structure to be able to do that. So sit there, if you've got a few minutes to yourself, start to weigh up anything that might be weighing you down, anything that might be clouding your judgment, stopping your mindset. And then I put together these A strategies, which are beginnings. So if we get it into our mind that we're looking at new beginnings, we've got to now take away anything there that's no longer useful. So an assessment of the storyline that is playing out around myself, yourself, into the world at large. And we look at what's influenced it, how we've come into being, and we take a few moments to consider. So if I accept my storyline is part of me, then I'll keep retelling the storyline as long as I'm alive on this wonderful planet of ours. But then there comes a point where I've got a decision to make. Am I understanding of what's going on around me and quite content to live out on that pathway, or do I want to make changes? So then I start breaking things down into bite-sized chunks, looking at things there that I can potentially change, that I can work with. Things that I can't change, then I have to be prepared to say, right, if I can't influence them, then there's no point in me worrying about it. So my first A is assessment of the situation. My second A is acceptance of the things that I can and can't control. The things I can control, I can influence. The things that I can't, I withdraw my energy from and call what is called disassociation. So I am no longer going to invest any effort or any energy into that thing that I can't control. My next A is acknowledgement. So acknowledgement is of what part I am playing in the storyline. So much like an actor learns his script, what part am I playing in my current storyline? Then I'm going to look at how I can make any changes. So the next part of my storyline is, who am I? What can I do? What are my aspirations? What are my dreams? What is my experience? How is my next part of my storyline going to play out? So you look at whether it's positive or negative. If you're attracting a lot of negativity around you, have a look at what it is that's bothering you. What is it that you're hanging on to? If it's positive that you're looking for, have a look at what you tend to do on any given day. Do you attract positivity or do you attract negativity? I then look at what alterations I'd like to make. Using all of my skills, the things that I've learned over the years, and I apply myself, which is basically taking myself from the thought process to the action stage. Now, as part of that storyline now evolving, I'm going to get feedback. Now, the thing is, from people's perspective, is they spend a lot of time in the place of what I would describe as what if. So they make plans for things that they don't really want to happen. And I point out to people that when you look back at your past history, even when you've gone through traumatic times, what tends to happen is you react and you deal with it. And you get feedback from it. So if you adopt that strategy when you're going forward, that I will react to a situation if it happens, rather than prepare. So then what you tend to find is you get live feedback. When you look at the live feedback, you can then make alterations to suit that live feedback. So we might need to make little tweaks, we might need to make little adjustments. But that can only be done in the live moment. So rather than strategizing for anything to worry about, we'll only deal with moments when they're in that live phase. Once we get that in place, we can then make the assessment of how we're actually doing. What's the progress like? Make the adjustments again, because we're dealing in that live feedback phase. And then comes the last A in there, which is ascension, which quite simply means, for somebody who's got a simple minded way of thinking like me, is ascension means going up, on the rise. So to sum up, you've got these stages to go through. So the process is known as and then what. The first part is the assessment. The second part is the acceptance of how things actually are. The acknowledgement of who we are, what we are, and the part that we've got to play in these scenarios that's going on around us. Any alterations that we want to make. So that's the planning stage. And then we go into the application. So the application of going from the thought to the actual action stage. Put those down into place. Make any alterations and amendments. And then we're on the rise. So we're on a winner. So guys, while you're out there, this is coming from an overcomplicated thinker, an overanalyzer, that I put too much stock into other people's opinions, or put too much stock into my upbringing, or whatever trauma is that's affected me through the years. We've all got a backstory. So start training your minds to say, when we come up with these explanations, and then what? So and then what therapy is always going to be thrown in there, of whatever reasoning the brain has come up with, the patterns that we're following, and then what? So I've had a rough upbringing, and then what? Well, I went through this trauma and I went through these and then what? Because we have got limited life hours on this planet of ours. So what do we want to be defined by? I've had difficulties, I've got issues with this, that and the other, but it's that thing that I keep saying to myself, and then what? Because where do I want to be? So imagine now that I did know how much time I've got before I shuffle off this mortal coil. What do I want to fill those gaps in with? Do I want to fill them in with gaps of memories of things that I feel like I've been let down by, or that I'm angry about, or that I'm upset by? Or do I want to find some way of using that as a fuel and maintaining some productivity? It's like with everything, guys, we've got choices. So, as I leave you with this, I love talking to eclectic minded people. I am a sensitive guy and I no longer hide from that, but there comes a time when, like me personally, I have to kick my own arse, and I don't deal well with moaning, so I structure what it is that I want to achieve with my life and where I want to be with my life's goals. So it's thought therapy, and the idea behind all of this work that I do is just to promote that thought. Maybe plant a seed in your mind. Do you want to make those changes? Don't overcomplicate it. Use your skills, use your talents, use your experience, use your wisdom. But above all, be the unique, talented person that you are. So I'm going to leave it there and say to you, thank you if you managed to get through this. Hopefully you will utilise it in a productive way. If you'd like any more details in the way that I think, please contact me. I'm quite happy to engage with people. But for there, we'll leave it there. Okay, so we'll just say thank you. I'm in gratitude. I'm wishing you the best for 2024 and beyond. And my little catchphrase is there that I want to just drop in with you is keep shining and don't sweat the small stuff. Thank you once again for tuning in.